Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to Timcast Live. I'm Libby Emmons filling in for Tim Pool as he's out of town. And just to get you caught up this morning, there was a crazy thing that happened in Washington, D.C. overnight. Two people were shot outside the Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. These were staffers of the Israeli embassy, and they were shot by a guy who'd been pacing around outside the museum. It was an event at the museum, and he was pacing around, and as he was arrested and let off, he was actually screaming, "Free, free Palestine." So the Intifada has come to Washington, D.C. People are now getting shot on the street because of wars in foreign countries. Obviously, this shouldn't happen, but let's get into it. One man and one woman were shot and killed outside of an event at the Capitol Jewish Museum on Wednesday night. Police have identified the suspect in the fatal shooting as Elias Rodriguez, 30-year-old from Chicago. And we actually have video of his arrest here. Let's see.
Oh, God! No. Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Oh, God!
This guy actually could have done a lot more damage. It was reported that he was also trying to breach the museum. The people that he killed were a couple, a young man and a young woman, who were planning to get engaged. The young man had already bought the ring this week. He was planning to propose to his beloved in Israel, actually, next week. The two victims were identified as Yaron Lashinsky, and there was a young woman. Where is her name? I think we can get that. JD Vance mentioned what her name was. I thought we had that pulled up and I don't have it. But the shooting occurred just blocks from the local FBI field office, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and the D.C. Police Headquarters. This was right downtown, and the victims were shot while they were exiting the event. The suspect was observed pacing back and forth outside the museum. According to D.C. Police, he approached a group of 4 people, brought out the gun, and then opened fire, killing the young couple. He went into the museum and was detained immediately by event security, where he was then arrested. And when he was in handcuffs, as we just heard, he shouted, "Free, free Palestine." You could see security picking up his keffiyeh off the ground as well. This essentially, what we have going on here is this is the campus violence and the campus protests going right into the streets of the United States, on the streets of our cities. It has left Harvard, it has left Columbia, it has left UCLA and the University of Washington, it has left Princeton, and here we are. Our nation's capital is now the site of this kind of violent agitation where people are getting murdered in America because of the Free Palestine movement. It's absolutely out of control. And I think it kind of means that these colleges really should put a stop to these organizations that are on student campuses. They've been thanked by Hamas. There was a former Hamas leader who came out and said that he had nothing but praise for the students at the Ivy League campuses who were going around chanting to, murder people and eradicate nations. It doesn't really matter what you think of Israel specifically or Gaza specifically. There's absolutely no reason for American college kids to be wandering around campus calling for the eradication of nations and people. It's just totally ridiculous. It's anathema to our academic environment, and it's certainly anathema to what America stands for. And so this is really a shame. Kristi Noem has promised, total, detainment and arrest and all of the rest of it. But nothing's going to bring these people back. Nothing's going to actually make this right for their families. We can see here what the police said about it.
Good evening. I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm Mayor of Washington, D.C. I am here with the Chief of the Metropolitan Police Department, Pamela Smith. and we are joined by members of the Washington, D.C. Public Safety Team and our partners in the federal government, from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the special agent in charge, as well as the assistant director in charge. We are also joined by the Attorney General for the United States, Pam Bondi, the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, Judge Pirro, as well as the
really
Israeli ambassador to the United States, Ambassador Leichter. We are here at the MPD headquarters to provide an update on a horrific shooting that happened shortly after 9 p.m. this evening near the Capitol Jewish Museum. I want to start by sending our condolences to the loved ones of the victims who were senselessly a victim of these crimes. I want to provide my prayers and condolences to the museum staff and the guests who are also gathering together in fellowship. The chief will share preliminary information from the investigation. I will say up front that there is no active threat in our community.
That's, I think, really interesting, this idea that there's no active threat in the community. This is a city, this is the mayor of a big blue city on the East Coast, our nation's capital, that has seen countless protests for the very cause that the man who committed the shooting is espousing. He was not known to police, from what I understand so far. He does not have a criminal history. So I don't think that there's any way to know for sure if there's any ongoing threat in the community, since he comes from this radicalized background where killing people for a political ideology is the appropriate course of action. I just don't think that she knows that or could say that for sure at all. You know, I mean, how do you say that? It makes no sense. We saw Ilhan Omar was asked about it. She is, of course, very pro the Palestinian cause. And let's see, where was she asked about it? Is that on here? I think it's on here.
And do a reality. She's an Islamist. Talib is an Islamist.
There was a video. Do I not have that video?
I dare them to sue me. I dare them to sue me. I will counterclaim. I will get all the information I need.
There was a video out there where Ilhan Omar was walking away. She was asked, I thought I had pulled the right one, guys. Sorry. I've been up since 6 o'clock this morning working. But there was a video where Ilhan Omar was asked about this whole situation, and she just walked away. She didn't have anything to say about it. She was out there at Columbia last year with her daughter who went to Barnard. Yeah, here we go. Thank you.
Congresswoman Omar, can I get your reaction to the shooting that happened in D.C. last night?
I'm going to go for now.
I'm going to go for now, Mark.
Yeah.
Couldn't even say.
There she is. I'm going to go for now. She was out there with the Columbia students protesting. She was out there with her daughter who got suspended for, the violent actions that were going on at the protests on Columbia's campus last year. This kind of leftist violence that we're seeing, I know we talk about that a lot, but it's so pronounced now. Now people are getting killed. You know, Luigi Mangione killed a guy, and he was getting praise practically from most of these big leftist outlets. They were just acting like his grievance with the insurance companies was a legitimate reason to go around killing people. And now we have this situation where what you're going to see is the hardliners saying like, oh, it's justifiable because genocide, blah, blah, blah. None of that makes it justifiable to be killing people in downtown District of Columbia. And that needs to be so apparent. The college campuses really need to be aware that they had a role to play in this. They had a role to play in radicalizing people and in permitting the notion that violence is an acceptable form of retaliation to, your political unhappiness. It just isn't. It's just not acceptable. Donald Trump, of course, weighed in. He said these horrible DC killings based obviously on anti-Semitism must end now. Hatred and radicalism have no place in the USA. Condolences to the families of the victims. So sad that such things as this can happen. God bless you all. You remember under the Biden administration when they said that Catholics, parents, and white nationalists were the biggest threat to the United States, that these were the domestic terrorists, these were the domestic extremists that his intelligence community were undertaking to investigate. Yeah, I think he had that totally backwards. I don't think it's the Catholics. I don't think it's the parents. I haven't heard much from white nationalism in a very long time. I think that movement has successfully been driven underground and out of the spotlight of society where it belongs. So, yeah, I mean, Donald Trump, of course, is exactly right on this. And I certainly hope that this leads to some sort of change. And I'm not talking about gun control. I'm talking about reminding everyone that violence is not a way to solve political problems. And of course, it also needs to be clear that the leftist movement that is pushing so hard against Israel, that is pushing so hard the oppressor victim narrative, is what is leading to this kind of radicalized domestic violence. Yeah, it's really terrifying. And we have some more information about the shooter. Elias Rodriguez of Chicago has been identified as the suspected shooter. He is 30 years old. He's a socialist pro-Palestinian activist who was arrested. And he had the video Free Palestine. Yeah, here we go. Israeli diplomat Yaron Lashinsky and his girlfriend Sarah Milgram were the ones who were murdered. And here is some individual posts about that. I, as an individual, he said, cannot stop this violence to the people of Palestine, but I at least can help the little boy who made the difference to me. I urge others to help as much as possible in a fundraiser. He is from the Party for Socialism and Liberation and argued that the murder of Laquan McDonald and the Chicago bid for Amazon headquarters are two separate issues. If you guys remember that story, that was from a while back. And where is this? The Daily Mail reported that images appearing to be of Rodriguez at BLM protests had surfaced from 2017. His work profile had him at the nonprofit organization The History Makers, with his biography saying that he was an oral history researcher on African American communities. Andy No had some stuff on this. I know that Ari Hoffman was working on this story as well, both for the Post Millennial. He also apparently had a manifesto that stated public opinion has shifted against the genocidal apartheid state and the American government has simply shrugged. They'll do without public opinion then, criminalize it where they can, suffocate it with bland reassurances that they're doing all they can to restrain Israel where it cannot criminalize protest outright. So he engaged in a criminal act in order to deal with that. He shot them at point blank range. Yeah, this kind of thing really has to stop. It has to be realized that that all of these movements are what they're leading toward is this kind of conclusion, this kind of, intifada in the streets. That's what this is. This is what globalize the intifada means. It doesn't just mean put out your blanket and, use a camp toilet on the quad at Columbia. It means kill people in the streets of Washington, D.C. That's globalize the intifada. It's not cute. It's not, wave your trans flag around and imagine they're not going to throw you off the roofs in Gaza, because of course that's what they do. It's not about any of that. It's about killing people. It's about destroying people that you disagree with. That has no place here. It really should not. There was another shooting this morning. A woman was shot and injured outside the CIA headquarters after failing to stop at a gate. There was a security incident that law enforcement responded to outside CIA headquarters. Early Thursday morning, guards at the Northern Virginia headquarters of the Central Intelligence Agency shot a person in what they called a security incident. CBS News' Jennifer Jacobs said security shot at a female driver after she failed to stop at the headquarters gates. She was taken to the hospital with what law enforcement officials believe were non-fatal injuries after being shot in the upper body. So we don't know entirely why this happened. They say that details will be made available as appropriate and that the front headquarters of the CIA is closed until further notice. I imagine Hannah Nightingale is working on getting some updates to this story. It's a lot of shooting in Virginia for just one overnight, I gotta say. Speaking of the CIA and the intelligence community, I wanted to share with you guys an exclusive that I worked on today and last night with Jack Posobiec. Exclusive declassified ODNI emails debunk NY Times hit piece on NCTC nominee Joe Kent. There's this whole thing going on with the Alien Enemies Act. So the Trump administration decided to use the Alien Enemies Act in order to deport Venezuelan criminals with the Tren de Aragua gang. And they put this into effect, I think, was it March 15th? Something like that. Courts have been saying, no, you can't use that act for this purpose. And you have had people within the intelligence community making different claims about the legitimacy of the notion that the Nicolas Maduro government in Venezuela is supporting Tren de Aragua. And this is what is at issue here. There have been several articles, maybe like 3, by the New York Times, claiming that the Maduro government has absolutely no connection to Tren de Aragua. And Joe Kent has been the focus of their latest diatribe, saying that Kent, who is a nominee, he was nominated by Trump for the National Counterterrorism Center. The Times said that he's basically unsuitable for this, claiming that he pressured intelligence analysts, to say that there was a connection between Maduro and Tren de Aragua when there wasn't one. This was the New York Times claim. But in reality, we got a hold of some of the emails between Kent and his team, and it doesn't really quite look like the New York Times has their facts straight. So we dug into that. New emails obtained by the Post Millennial and declassified by DNI Tulsi Gabbard show that Kent was providing feedback to a draft NIC assessment and asking for additional context. He was questioning the analysis presented, saying essentially that the analysts were looking for a smoking gun rather than nuanced connection. So you had these analysts saying, we don't see a direct link. That must mean there's no link, and the Alien Enemies Act must be void. And Kent was saying, there could be more. Keep looking around. The report was about the Venezuelan government's relationship to Tren de Aragua, and following a March article in the New York Times that alleged there was no connection between the Maduro regime and Tren de Aragua, Kent contacted National Intelligence Council acting chair Mike Collins, who has since been dismissed for leaking illegally classified materials, saying that it was essential to rethink the IC's TDA assessment. I would like to understand how any IC element arrived at the conclusion that the Venezuelan government doesn't support and did not orchestrate TDA operating in the U.S. Flooding the nation with migrants, Kent said, and especially migrants who are part of a violent criminal gang, is the action of a hostile nation, even if the government of Venezuela isn't specifically tasking or enabling TDA's operations. So this came after a report from the FBI, and then another report came out, all of which were making different assertions about the Maduro government's relationship to Tren de Aragua. And there was something that I thought was really interesting. Let's see, where is it here? And this was back and forth. Let's see. Kent complained about the IC speak in it, and they added a couple of sentences, including Tren de Aragua is a Venezuelan. Wait, is that the one? Yeah. Here it is. Tren de Aragua is a Venezuelan transnational gang that has spread to at least 7 South American and Caribbean countries, operating in loosely organized cells of localized individual criminal networks. TDA leaders have historically been located in Venezuela and probably communicate to varying degrees with some international TDA cells and coordinate amongst themselves. And this is the part that I thought you guys would think was interesting. Kent said, if you replace TDA with Al-Qaeda and Venezuela with Afghanistan, the above paragraph is basically the rationale behind our invasion of Afghanistan and targeting of the Taliban post 9/11. Let's just come out and say TDA leaders are given sanctuary in Venezuela as their gang members commit horrendous crimes in America. Then we can provide the context about our exact knowledge of the relationship between TDA and the Venezuelan government. I think this should be put up front as it speaks to the nature of TDA. They are not just a group of migrants forming a gang in America. They are transnational and supported to some degree by a government that is hostile to us. So what he's saying is he's using an argument that we've certainly heard before. He's saying that Venezuela harbors this criminal gang. And you could extrapolate and say that their harboring of this criminal gang means that they have been facilitating the working of that gang. Kent also said that it was really important to remember that it didn't even need to be necessarily that the illegal immigrants who were part of Tren de Aragua were sent necessarily by the Maduro regime to the United States, because the Biden administration was inviting in the entire world. It was easy to come into the United States, and probably some of these guys claimed asylum and then went around, being part of their gang anyway. So I think that there's a lot of intrigue about who said what and what's going on with all of this. And that's exactly what Kent said. Another major issue I have with the analysis in this piece is its lack of context about the status of our border and immigration policy over the last 4 years. The piece says that the IC has not seen the Venezuelan government help TDA transport its members to the U.S. and cities, and cites a lack of this support as an indicator that the Venezuelan government is not cooperating with TDA. So I think he's saying you guys are looking for something obvious, and, why would they show us something obvious? It's an interesting thing to think about. And, I wonder what this will be made of when it comes to the whole situation about judges validating the use of the Alien Enemies Act and the allowance of the return flights of illegal immigrants to Venezuela.